Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. It's great to see you all here today, whether you're returning or this is your first town hall with us. Welcome. I'm going to wait a moment because we're going to be going live on our Facebook group as well. And I'm just going to give a moment for everyone to join and connect their audio and things like that. I hope everyone's been having a good week so far.
It's a really beautiful day up here in the Northeast, and I know in not so much in the Southeast. So I hope everybody's safe and not too affected by the hurricane. I'm sure if you're here, you're probably not affected, but I know it's been quite a big one down there in Florida. So
yeah, definitely. We've been keeping an eye on the news here, but yeah, just hopefully everyone is safe. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. So today we're gonna talk about 5 ways you can grow your enrollment at your Montessori school. I'm gonna go ahead and give us a little brief introduction here. So we're Nido Marketing and Montessori Thrive. We host these town halls every week on Thursday from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. throughout the school year. This is a space for Montessori leaders and administrators to come together, find support. Every other week, we do invite a speaker to join us and share their expertise. And then sometimes we just like to share our marketing advice or host these kind of open forums as a space for collaboration. We think it's important for leaders to find a sense of support and community. We know it can get lonely at the top, but you should definitely have a space. So we've created that for you. These are always free to join. Feel free to invite any fellow Montessori leaders or administrators who you think might want to join in on the calls. But yeah, today we're going to be focusing on 5 ways to grow your enrollment. Before we get started in the presentation, I just want to get to know where everyone is. So I've asked 3 questions here. I've asked, are you currently facing challenges when it comes to growing your enrollment? What does your school currently do to market? And have you set yourself any goals in terms of growth? Feel free to answer this in the chat. I just want to see where everyone is at. If enrollment right now is kind of at a standstill at your school, if you have a wait list, and yeah, to see if anyone is implementing any strategies that have worked. So I'll pause a little bit and let everyone kind of fill that out in the chat. I know it's early in the school year as well, so it might, maybe this is not necessarily your biggest focus right now. Maybe you're just trying to get people integrated into the school year, but it's good to see where everyone is at currently.
yeah, maybe just dropping in the chat if you do any kind of marketing right now. Like, are you doing any paid ads or specific campaigns or anything like that? It would be interesting to know. Tina says, we've been growing, but with the anticipation of a new school building and talk of recession, I want to be prepared. Yeah.
Very true. Very good point, Tina. Thank you.
It's the kind of thing, and I've met with some people recently, some schools. I meet with schools all the time, and marketing is something that when you don't need it, you don't think about it, but you don't want to get kind of caught behind the 8 ball all of a sudden, like, oh, my classrooms aren't full anymore, I don't have a wait list. It's hard to play catch up after the fact. I see Jill here. Challenges over the last few years, parents have been afraid of COVID and or are moving away. Yeah, it is challenging.
Certainly. All right, if anyone has any other additional comments, feel free to drop them in the chat as we move along, but thank you for sharing. Oh, here Rachel says, we're working to rebuild our enrollment from COVID. We market locally, Google ads and Facebook ads. We've met our enrollment goal for this year, but still have room to grow. Great. Tina says here, we've tried a bunch of different things, but I'm not an expert and would like to know where to put my best effort. And Tyler says, our challenge has been increasing elementary enrollment. All right. all of these are very real challenges. I think certainly we hear them across the board, and several schools in different areas across the US are dealing with these challenges. So we'll address them in the presentation, but it's great to know where everyone is at. So thank you for sharing. So basically what I put to here, what I want to focus on in this presentation is specifically digital marketing. And the reason that we're focusing on digital marketing is that's our area of expertise, but also we know that it works so well in the Montessori space because realistically today's parents are searching for their child's school online, and digital marketing allows you to identify those families, reach out to them, nurture them and educate them, and help them decide what schooling is best for them. And this is going to ultimately help you grow your enrollment. And we're going to cover 5 different facets here of digital marketing. You don't have to use all of them, but these 5 ways will help you grow your enrollment over time. So here are 5 things that you can start implementing into your marketing strategy if you want to see growth starting today and moving forward. And the 5 are, and I kind of put them in order of importance really as well, is to number 1, have a great school website. Number 2, create content. And I'll dive into what sort of content I'm talking about. Number 4 is to run digital ads. Number 4 is to focus on great communication. And number 5 is to invest in your community. All of these are important things. Like I said, you don't have to do all 5. It's great if you have the time and capacity to do it, but even if you can implement 1, 2, or 3 things, it will make a difference. So focus your efforts where you can. But like I said, if it makes it a little bit easier, you can focus top to bottom of the list, kind of work your way down that way. All right, so let's dive into number 1 here out of our 5 favorite ways to grow your enrollment, and that is to have a great school website. Having a great school website will be the foundation of your digital Montessori marketing strategy, and it's going to be one of your biggest tools when it comes to growing your enrollment. We really do believe that your website is going to be your main powerhouse and generator when it comes to enrollment. So let's dive into kind of what a good website can do for you, why you should be focusing on it so much, and why it's such a valuable marketing tool. All right, so why focus so much on your website? First and foremost, we truly believe it's your greatest marketing asset. This is going to be how many parents will form their first impression of you, because they're going to go onto their computer, they're going to Google schools or child programs in their area, and then they're going to click on your school among others, and they're going to check out your website. This is going to be the most common way people come across your school nowadays. It's incredibly important to make that first impression a good one. Secondly, you own your website. This is your space that your school owns. You control the content and the experience, and you're the one who's initiating engagement on this platform. Unlike on social media platforms where you don't own it, they're getting a bunch of different content. On your website, they're focusing on you, your journey, your mission, and what you have to offer. And number 3, it drives conversions, which is ultimately the goal of your marketing strategy. You want parents to visit your website and take action, whether it's request more information, whether it's schedule a tour, whether it's submit an application, they're going to do that on your website. So these are our real 3 reasons as to why you should be focusing so heavily on your website. So what determines a great website? I tried to condense this into 3 main points. Number 1, you want your website to be visually appealing. Your website should be just like your classroom environments, beautiful and orderly. Having an outdated website makes a terrible first impression nowadays, and it's just not good enough. Unfortunately, I know that, as a school, your main focus isn't necessarily your website. You've got so many things on the list, but it really does matter to have that beautiful and up-to-date website. Number 2, you want a website that is easy to navigate. And this includes being easy to navigate on a desktop, on a tablet, on a smartphone. If your website is confusing, if it's not straightforward to use, I also want to make a point about it maybe being ADA compliant, which is a requirement nowadays as well. If you don't have that on your website, making it accessible to pretty much anyone, it's important to have an easy to navigate website. And number 3, you want to encourage engagement. What I mean by this is you want to have calls to actions. You want your families who are visiting this website to know what they're meant to do. So whether it's contact the school, schedule a tour, you're inviting them to engage with the content that's on your website. I'm going to pause to see if there's any questions. All right. So yeah, these are the 3 kind of main points you really want to focus on to your, when it comes to your school website.
Yeah, I would just add the other thing is it really needs to load quickly. If it's really slow to load, then Google is going to ding you in terms of SEO, and people are going to get frustrated and go to, leave your site. They're not going to sit around and wait for a slow page to load. So that's another important point. What is the ideal speed? I would have to check what, it in terms of, you said Google will ding you based on SEO. What is that? So SEO is how search engine optimization. So that is how high your site appears when someone searches on like Montessori school near me. So Google's going to go out and find sites that match that search term. And then it's, they're in order. And if you're not really on the first page, then you probably will be overlooked. So one of the things that there's a lot of different aspects to search engine optimization, but one of them is how fast your page loads. And Google goes out and tests these things and adds that to their unbelievably huge database of different sites, and includes that in the ranking. So that, right, and user experience, right, Eric, as well. So if there's a lot of broken links on your website, or it doesn't work well on a smartphone, Google knows that. And so all of these things factor into how high you'll rank on that, what we call the SERP, or the search engine results page. So that's the screen that you see after you've searched for something. I would need to, just back to your question about what the ideal speed is. I don't have that in my head. I know that we get notified when something isn't fast enough, and I can get back to you on that. But I mean, it is, it needs to load in seconds. If you're sitting around and it's taking more than just a few seconds to load, then that's too slow. Sure. Okay. Jill, I've noticed in looking at other schools' websites, sometimes the info is outdated. Yeah, that's also not a great thing. It means that the website's been a little neglected, right? And so that's important too, to go through, at least annually, go through your website and make sure that everything is up to date. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think SEO also takes that into account, how frequently the content on your website is updated. And also parents form an impression, because if they go on your website to check tuition rates and they're old, it doesn't look very professional for them to have to reach out for that. Eric asks here, so does Google also ding you on old blog posts?
I would say that directly. It's not going out and saying, oh, this blog was posted a year ago. But if you have current, the more fresh content you provide, it likes that. So just in general, just like having an old tuition rate posted, it's not a great look if you have a blog and the last time it was updated was a year ago. So if you're going to have a blog, I would say minimally you should have a post at least once a month. If you don't think you can keep that up, then it's probably better not to have a blog at all, or not call it a blog and not have those posts dated, and just have it be, call it something else, informational articles, and don't have the date posted on it, so that it doesn't look like your site's been kind of neglected. You need to keep it up.
And don't be afraid to repurpose old content either. If you want to recycle a well-written blog, maybe you have a new set of families now and the information would be relevant to them. You can just update the photos, tweak it a little bit, and feel free to bring that back up to your newer blog post. Google will not necessarily ding that or look at it as old content.
Right.
All right, let's take a tour at our Nido site. If any of you want to reference our model site, it's nido.site. Anyone can access it.
Actually, it's not. It's nidosite.com. Sorry.
Nidosite.com, sorry. This is just one of our sample websites. I have it here pulled up on our screen. You can see that you can kind of take a tour of it, whether it be on a desktop, tablet, phone. So you can see how you can navigate it across different devices. I'm going to do the desktop one just so you can see how it would look like on a computer. But basically, we want schools to use this as kind of an inspiration for what an effective website looks like from a marketing standpoint. As you can see here on our homepage, we have a very condensed navigation bar. It's not confusing. It doesn't have too many things. It has just the right amount of content. And then, of course, front and center, you have our schedule a tour button here, which is what we pretty much have on all of our websites, or encouraged at least, which is a tool that parents could click on to schedule a tour. They could select a time that works for them, etc. All of these are powered by automations. The homepage is really just kind of a good summary of, why Montessori. Here are our programs so that your audience knows exactly who you tailor to. A broken down process as to how to apply, links to your Montessori blogs, which should be parent education blogs, or about Montessori, why Montessori, etc. Here we have an example of a lead generator to collect contact information from families who visit your website. But essentially, a website should be a very straightforward and understandable experience for people who are getting to know you for the first time. As you'll see, all of the colors on our sample website are cohesive. Highly recommend getting a graphic designer or having someone do graphics for your school that are well-made, high resolution. All of our photos are high res. There's nothing blurry. And again, as you'll notice, it's not a wall of text. Anywhere on our website, we don't have a wall of text. Everything is broken up by images, graphics. It's condensed into a very digestible format. Parents are taking in so much information when they are visiting different school websites. You want them to get the highlights. Here we have our drop-down menus on our navigation bar. And of course, like I said earlier, you can go to that link that Camille shared in the chat and you can visit this whenever you want as a reference. So you can kind of do a more proper and thorough tour of our website. What I want to point out as well about our website, and I'll talk about this later as well, is our admissions navigation bar.
Sorry, can we just stay on the homepage for a minute?
Yep.
When you can see, as Camilla said, things are kind of chunked up. There's not like a whole lot of long text, and there shouldn't be. And the homepage itself really should act like the navigation to the rest of your site, in addition to the navigation. So if you, Camilla, can click on the little phone up at the top, so we can see what it looks like, all the way up at the top where you can put it in smartphone mode. Yeah. So if you're looking at that now, if you click on, we emphasize more than just academics on the little icon up there, you can see, I think that one's set. Maybe that's not on the demo here, but what you really want to do is allow people on a phone. It's okay if it scrolls a lot, because that's how we're used to using phones. And then you want them to be able to just tap on the page itself. Maybe if you go down to programs there, I know those are linked, and just click on an image, or it's going to navigate just by tapping on the screen. So it's more intuitive on a phone to be moving around a website that way. Whereas you're not as apt to go up to see the little 3-line menu bar up in the right corner. You can do that. That is the navigation, but it's not as easy on a phone or as intuitive. So it's important to think about your homepage as sort of the gateway into the rest of your site. So that's all. I'll let you continue now.
No, great point. And really thinking about the user experience on your website. Like I said, you are owning this platform, you are controlling the experience, how families engage, and you want to think about it from a user perspective. Here, I want to point out that we do on our websites recommend you gate your tuition. I'll get more into detail about this, but we do not recommend that schools put their tuition information on their website. The reason why is because usually this is one of the first places parents will go. I guarantee you parents will want to know how much it costs before they even look through your blog, before they read through your mission, before anything else, they want to know what it's going to cost them. So by posting your tuition on your website, you're almost scaring them off before you have a chance to properly introduce yourself and to kind of show them why it may cost what it costs to go to your school. You have trained guides, your classrooms are set up for the development of the child, all of these factors. So we do recommend gating tuition, and you can just have a little form here where instead of just immediately going to your website, seeing the tuition and leaving, they will get a packet with information. You can follow up with them via email to schedule a tour, etc. It's more nurturing. But yeah, our sample website here is really well done. Camille designed these. We have different versions of it as well. If you go on our Nido Marketing website, you can see some different themes that you can work into your school as well. Of course, every website that we've ever done through Nido Marketing for the schools that we worked with are customized. So of course, every school will have a say in how their website is designed, but anyone can reference our site here. All right, I'm going to go back to the presentation now. So our little website do's and don'ts. I wanted to do this just to kind of, for those of you who already have a website and you may have it on a different platform or you do it yourself, just some things to revise and think about. So on our definitely a do list, like I said earlier, include beautiful high resolution images, simplify your navigation bar, include effective content, be purposeful. We know that Montessorians have a gift for wording things so beautifully and writing beautiful things, but sometimes when it comes to a digital marketing perspective, doing things in a highlighted condensed version is so much more effective. So be purposeful with that content. We do recommend to have a blog section if you can, if you have the capacity to. As Camille mentioned earlier, if you cannot keep your blog regularly updated, maybe name it something else like parent resources. Maybe you post articles in there every now and then, but it's great to have that content. Have several calls to action on your website. On every single page on our websites, we always have a schedule a tour button because we want parents to know that we want them to come visit the school. You can have various calls to action as well, like download our white paper, contact us for more detailed program information, etc. Use automations. Nowadays, if you want to be running a really high power, great and professional looking website, you really should be using automations. What I mean by that is like our schedule a tour button, allowing parents to be able to schedule a tour based on your availability and theirs automatically is so much more effective than them having to call you up during open hours and try to sort out a time that works. That's just not good enough nowadays. So using automations is essential. Have an updated website design. Nothing looks worse than someone going onto your website and it being from 2000 and it looks so outdated. Jill says Calendly is awesome. That is a great option as well. Using Calendly for your schedule a tour is also an option for those of you who want to run automations on your website. Make sure your website works well on a smartphone. We discussed this. Think about that user experience, and we do recommend to get your tuition rates. Don't scare parents off before they properly get to know you. What we don't recommend doing, no blurry images. Don't have too many options on your navigation bar. Don't, you want to avoid failing to include any informative info about the benefits of Montessori. Don't include don't not include any calls to actions or ways for families to engage. If all you have for families to engage is your email and phone number, it's just not good enough. Offer them a way to properly click through your website, learn about you, interact with you, etc. Have a website that's difficult to navigate. Don't have that. And then have a website that's bad or has inconsistent branding. Definitely a no-no. I see your custom versus stock photos. Is one better than the other? We recommend having custom photos. Stock photos it's hard to find a great Montessori stock photo sometimes. Sometimes you can tell that they're a little bit, I don't know, if you're using like stock photos and you're paying them. We do at Nido Marketing have a great stock photo library for Montessori because they're all from a Montessori classroom and they were photographed by somebody who is familiar with Montessori. So they know how to capture those moments of concentration, things like that. So if you're looking for a stock photo library that's Montessori specific, Nido Marketing does have that. If you can hire a photographer to come into your school and take photos, that's so much better. And then you can use that content over and over and over again, as long as they're high resolution photos that are great.
We also have a photography service. We have a photographer who would come to your school and take professional photos. So I would say with that too, custom is always better if they're high quality. If they're not high quality, then you might be better off with stock photos that are professionally done. Tyler, what are some examples of ways for prospective families to engage with the website? Yeah, so just like what Camilla was saying, you want that schedule a tour, that's ways. And I always equate that to, it's like the checkout register at a store. So if someone comes in and they're on your website and they're excited and they want to know what is the next step, you want to make it really obvious. You don't want to hide the cash register analogy might be a little crass for our example here, but you don't want to hide that. You want to make sure that it's really obvious what that first step is. And other ways are, besides schedule a tour, it's to download that tuition information. It's to download a lead generator, which is just a document of an article that might be of interest, like what is the difference between Montessori and traditional education, something like that. And where there's just a really simple form that they complete and then they get that in their inbox. Trying to think of just a general inquiry form is also really important. Every website should have that. So, name, email, phone, and then just a open-ended field that they can ask questions. Yes, I do have thoughts about adding testimonials to the website. They're absolutely great. And I like to kind of sprinkle them around the website. So you might have a few on the homepage. And then if you have some testimonials, for example, that are specific to your primary program, throw those on your primary page where you have your description of that program. Same idea, put some on your how to apply page, because when parents are looking for information and then all of a sudden like a testimonial is there, it just kind of reinforces, it's like the social proof it's really powerful and important. So I know we're getting into other areas here, but it's really important too to have a process in place for gathering those testimonials, because if most parents don't think about offering that necessarily, but if you ask, most of them are more than willing to provide them. So just have a reminder, maybe once a month, or every couple of weeks, reach out to a family that is, really pleased with how things are going, and just ask them for a quick testimonial. Just 2-3 sentences is great. So, okay. Yeah, Wally?
Just a quick question about getting the tuition rates.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how we have set it up currently, but basically it does, it does collect the information on the email addresses and all that. And I think it adds the information on CRM, doesn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And if that is the case, I mean, what I don't remember, is there an automation? Generally, you recommend that you set it up where certain information goes to the parents who has basically downloaded certain things or not? How is it supposed to work?
Yeah, so it's a form like Camilla has shown, and so they say, please send me your tuition rates, and then the automation, our CRM in the background will immediately send them an email that has your tuition rates probably attached to that email as a PDF file. So it's usually, you know, maybe the same page that you would hand parents if they came in for a tour. You probably have something formatted with your tuition rates on it. And then the idea there is that you can then continue to email them in using an automated email sequence, so that you can then, as Camilla said, you don't want them to scare them off, and they might, and not necessarily that it would scare everybody off, because, you know, some people, you know, are really fine with what tuition rates are. But for those that might need a little convincing, is why is this higher than, you know, kindercare down the street or whatever? You need to you can use that email sequence after they've requested to really introduce yourself, describe your school, the training of the teachers, everything that sets you apart from, you know, the other schools in the area. So that's really how it works. And it happens, you set it up once and it's just automatically going. And that's the real beauty of it. So, you know, and then not everybody is going to respond and request a tour after that, but those emails that are going, those automated emails are kind of encouraging them to come back to the website, or including a link to schedule a tour to take that next step. And some of them will. So this is like the top of when you talk about like a marketing funnel or a sales funnel, that's the top of the funnel. And then you're trying to get them to engage even more, and maybe reach out to you personally via email, schedule a tour, that type of thing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that's how we have it set up for our case, but I wasn't quite sure yet. But anyway, thanks for clarification.
Yeah, sure. And quite honestly, that particular one, I mean, I know in experience with my school, it's not a super high conversion rate to get to an enrolled family through tuition rates. I mean, in other words, you may get, you know, 10 people requesting tuition and only one actually following through. But because it's just automated, it doesn't really matter, because it's not extra work for you to follow up with those people, because the automation is taking care of that.
All right. We do have website resources on our Montessori Thrive resource membership website. So I highly recommend taking a look at those as well. If you just want some support for building your website, we have a website checklist, a website layout course. You can of course reference our Nido site, how to make your website your STAR admissions assistant. That's a town hall that Camille led about our CRM and running automations on your website. So if you're interested in learning more about that, that's a great recording. And then you can also schedule a consultation call with us, because if you want a one-on-one conversation about what will work for your specific school, highly recommend doing that. It's free and there's no strings attached. So let us know if you're interested in that. But yeah, we also have a forum and several website related blogs on nidomarketing.com. So if you go to our website, you can read through our many blogs about website layout, how to include automations on your website, how to focus on the user experience of your website. So if you're looking for resources on that, we've got plenty on our blog. Any questions specifically about the website before we move to our number 2 way to grow your enrollment? I'll pause for a second.
We might not make it through all 5 today.
Yeah, if not, we can always carry on.
Part 2.
Yeah, part 2. All right, number 2 is to provide great content. Content is what's going to answer your audience's questions. It's going to help build trust, develop relationships, improve your conversions, and generate your leads. Content is so important in marketing. That's why Every marketer has to take English. Every marketer has to be a good writer. It really is so essential in marketing. So let's dive into why we think content is so important in the marketing space. First and foremost, it educates. Most parents already know about traditional schooling methods. You know, most of us went to public school, or even most of the private schools are not necessarily Montessori. So we understand that, but it's really our job as Montessorians to guide these new parents through the Montessori philosophy and to nurture them. Number two, you become a thought leader. This is extremely powerful in marketing because when people learn through your great content, you become an authority on that content. You become an authority and a thought leader in the Montessori space in your specific community. So it's very powerful. Number three, content nurtures. People need to understand what sets your school apart and why they should trust you enough and to want to take that action, to want to come in for a tour, to want to go into a partnership with you for their child's education. So content has the power to do these things. A few content ideas of things that you can be incorporating into your marketing strategy. First and foremost, blogs and articles, your website copy. This is incredibly important. You need to be really purposeful with what you're including on your website. Videos, parenting videos, you can do a recorded ad for your school as well. If you have the capacity to do this, it can be a powerful thing to include. Testimonials is content. So that's why we really do believe it's important to have a system in place to gather testimonials, because social proof is very effective content. Photography, podcasts, if you want to, you don't have to have your own podcast, but maybe you can include some great podcast links in your school website, which is great for parent resources. Additional parent resources as well. This can be blogs and articles, but it can go beyond that. Social posts, so whether you have social media accounts, newsletters, emails, as well as content marketing. We'll talk a little bit more about email marketing in this. Lead generators and white papers, which we mentioned, are ways for parents to engage on your website and for you to offer them valuable information. So all of these are great content ideas. If anyone has anything to add, feel free to add it in the chat, but there's loads of different things you can do. You don't have to do all of them, but content is certainly going to be an important factor in your marketing. So I wanted to take a tour. Yes, Wally.
One quick question here. You talked about newsletters on website and all that. On your website homepage, where would that fit in? I mean, which of those labels would it fit under?
For your school newsletter?
Yes.
Yeah. If your school newsletter is really mostly targeted to your current parents, and that, in other words, is that the target audience for your newsletter, then I would suggest putting it on your website, but it doesn't need to be on your homepage. You could have a page that is, like for current families or something like that. If you have a newsletter, like some schools have, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, they publish a newsletter that is more for the outward community. In other words, this is what Crab Apple Montessori School is doing in our community, and what's happening at the school that might be of interest to the greater community. Then yeah, definitely, yes, put that on your homepage. I think that would be great.
Okay, thank you.
So here I'm just going to do a little quick tour of our Montessori Thrive. I'll do it as quickly as possible because we're running out of time. This is a lot to cover in one town hall. So maybe we'll do a part 2. But basically, here you have loads of content that you can use as your content marketing for your content marketing for lead generators, etc. So quite literally, we have an entire section here on white papers and lead generators. All of these, if you remember, you can download and you can use them on your website. You can hand them out to parents. These are some of them are fun quizzes. Some of them are informative articles. We also have, and this is something I want to point out, we have a Montessori answered one pager, which we basically gathered every frequently asked question about Montessori, and we've condensed the answer into one page. This could be used in your content marketing strategy. You could hand it to parents so that they can learn about the philosophy and they can mislearn those misconceptions that they might be hearing from new mom blogs or things like that about Montessori. They're hearing it from you, trained Montessorians. So all of these are great resources that you can use in your content marketing strategy. Also, in our, we also do offer content and Nido Marketing if you don't have enough time to write a blog, or as I mentioned earlier, our stock photo library if you don't have any photographs for your website. So I definitely recommend checking out our website, nidomarketing.com, if you're more interested in that sort of content, which is a little bit more expensive to source, but extremely, extremely valuable. If you sign up for our blog content, you get a weekly blog for your website written for you by a trained Montessorian who is an amazing writer and very experienced guide. So I'm just going to give us a little shout out there. Any questions about content marketing? I'll do a little pause here because content is really so important. If your ads don't have great photos, if you're not offering content that is valuable and informative, you could be losing parents along the way. I just also wanted to mention that content is probably going to be the most time consuming of all of these. I see a question here in the chat. Do you have any rapid fire ideas of how to increase SEO? Have an updated blog.
Yeah, that's one. SEO, you really can't, I don't know by rapid fire if you mean, it's hard, you can't really increase it quickly. That's something that it takes time to I notice when I Google schools in the area, we don't show up unless I search Montessori schools in the area. I mean, like bullet point ideas. Yeah, so all the titles, on your website, all the titles. So in the HTML code, the title should have the name of your school, the town that your school is in. And then if you have a primary program, put the word preschool in there because that is what people are searching on, and SEO will take into account those titles. Make sure you're and so that's like the, it's called the metadata on the pages. So, and you can use that on, if you have a page dedicated to primary, put it on that page too, or some schools will just say primary preschool. So I know we're kind of allergic to the name preschool in the Montessori world, but that is a common search term. Also childcare, depending on, what ages you serve. Yeah, really. I mean, it's making sure, we have a whole, I'll see if I can find the recording. We had an SEO expert on, and there's a lot of things you can do, like have all the images on your website, make sure they're named, even the names of the JPEGs themselves, Google takes into account. So if you have, have the main image on your homepage, name it the name of your school, .jpeg or whatever, Montessori preschool .jpeg is the name of that image, and then make sure there's alt text for those. So an alt text just means you provide a description for what is in the picture, so that if somebody isn't able to load those images, they'll at least see a text version. That's another thing about SEO. Maybe we should have another whole town hall about SEO, because there's a lot to it, and it's something you have to really work at. It's not that you can't flip a switch and have all of a sudden you're at the top of the page. That's where ads come in. That's where when you do Google ads, SEO town hall. Okay, we can do that. But anyway, I was just going to say Google ads, that's where you kind of short circuit the system, and you make sure we actually create Google ads on your brand. So, Nido Montessori School, we bid on that term so that, you make sure that you're showing at the top of the page, because ads are always at the top of the page. The downfall, of course, is that they cost money. So anyway, we'll put that on the town hall schedule, and and
Yeah.
that for an hour.
Yeah, we can definitely host a town hall in the future about SEO. It's certainly important. I think our next one is, digital ads. So we'll talk a little bit about it here. But I think a more in-depth specific hour on SEO would be helpful. But yeah, number 3 would be to run those digital ads and consider SEO. Running digital ads is going to be what allows you to reach that target audience. And it's going to bring them to your website. This should be the goal of your digital ads, is to bring them to your website where they can then convert, whether that's scheduling a tour, applying, etc. Digital ads can definitely be a part of your overall marketing strategy. This is probably going to be a more pricey action depending on your budgets and things like that, and depending on what types of ads you want to run, and also depending on your area. I'll dive more into why that is in a second. So yeah, basically, digital ads are the bridge that parents are going to cross on to get to your school website. You want to link parents to your website on every ad, whether it's a Facebook ad. Of course, SEO operates a little bit differently. It takes other kind of data into account, but basically it's going to be that bridge that brings those prospective families, those mission appropriate families to your school website and ultimately to your school. Why do digital ads work so well? First and foremost, you're able to target the right families. Running both Google and social ads is going to allow you to find the right demographics. You can run various campaigns that appeal to your target demographic as well. You can run campaigns for all sorts of reasons, to get parents into an open house, to get them to apply, to get them to schedule a tour, etc. Number 2, numbers don't lie. Here at Nido Marketing, we've been running digital ads for schools for several years now, and we know that they work. We've seen it work time and time again. It's valuable to invest in SEO and things like that because it does result in conversions. Number 3, you can measure and track progress. This is for those of you who are more data-driven, who are a little bit more logistical. Metrics are going to be a big factor in your digital ad strategy. You can see if you're getting a good return on your investment. For those of you who are actively checking on your Google ad tracker, who are checking on your Facebook business ad manager, you can study your ads, you can see what's working, you can see the quality of the people clicking on your ads. You know that if people are calling in, they're only looking for a daycare, they're not looking for something like a Montessori school. Maybe the quality of those leads isn't quite what you need and you need to tweak your ads. So from a data perspective, it's great because you can constantly measure and see if you're getting your money's worth. So where can you start with Google? Where can you start with digital ads? We really think that Google ads is a little bit more effective than Facebook ads, just because parents are searching on Google. That's the first place that they go to. While, running a Facebook ad might be helpful every now and then, and it certainly does generate leads, Google is where you should be dedicating the majority of your digital ad budget. You can find a budget that works for your school. I'll talk a little bit about budgets briefly, but basically it does kind of depend on your school. As Camille mentioned, when it comes to SEO and Google ads, you're bidding on certain words and phrases. So if you're in an area like Manhattan, you're probably going to be paying a lot more in Google ads than a school that might be in a more remote area where there's less competitors who are bidding over those keywords. So you need to find a budget that works for you in your area, and that is, of course, reachable for your school. And you absolutely need to be monitoring your ad performance. If you want to run Google ads and get a good return on your investment, you need to dedicate time to tracking those ads, to tweaking them, because if not, you might not be getting the results that you want. You might not be getting the quality of leads that you want. So you're going to have to dedicate some time. We do have a few resources to help you with Google ads. I have a list of them as well at the on a later slide. So for those of you who are interested in kind of learning more about the metrics and things like that, how to monitor performance, it is kind of like learning how to use not new software entirely, but yeah, you have to learn how to use those tools if you want to run ads. So for cool.
Oh yeah, just a little bit more about budget. We find that that you really need, unless you're really in a rural area and don't have any competition at all, $500 is kind of the minimum per month to pay Google to run ads. And then, so most of the schools that we manage ads for are spending between $500 and $1,500 a month on Google ads, just to give you a little framework there. And the reason that the Google ads work better is because if you think about that, again, that funnel, and I think you have a slide coming up that shows, you know, the typical sales funnel. If someone is actively searching online, they're just in the mode of wanting to find a school. So they're just more apt to, if your ad comes up, they're more apt to click on it. Whereas with Facebook, it's more for awareness, and they might be in Facebook for a completely different reason, and they'll see an ad. So they're just not quite as, they're kind of, it's more higher up in that customer journey of where they're not really actively seeking you out maybe at that point. Whereas with Google ads, they typically are.
Camille?
Yeah.
We have been working with you guys on Google Ads for a while. And based on the data we have, looks like we've been spending about $300 or so per month, roughly. And
300?
we're in a metropolitan area. So that seemed to have worked fairly well. I was concerned about, you know, spending another $700-800 a month, which is a pretty high amount, but looks like that so far, I mean, basically I've let you guys decide, recommend what a good amount is. That's where we are at the moment in our case.
Did you say 300?
Yeah, about 300, yeah, typically every month.
Yeah, and so because you've been running with us a lot, so Google Ads, Google is just like, the AI in Google is just incredible right now. And so the longer you run ads, the smarter they get and the more efficient they get. And then we're monitoring them and continuing to tweak them to be even more efficient. So as they become, because they rely on the like, oh, this person with this demographic profile clicked on an ad, and then we follow it through and see they clicked on the ad and then they actually did something on your website. They schedule a tour. Well, we track all of that. And so then Google says, okay, let me go find more people that meet that profile and serve that ad up, you know, to people that meet that. And so it just becomes smarter as the ads campaigns go. So I'm glad to hear that the 300 is, and that's a good, it just depends on where you are. We typically recommend, you know, we have some schools that are at $200 a month for their ad budget, and then we have some that are at $2,000 a month. So it just really depends on where you are. And we just kind of try to help our clients figure out the sweet spot there.
Eric here asks, how long until there's a return on investment with paid ads? Months, ?
Well, it's we typically advise you to give it at least 3 months for that reason I just said, where you need to give the ad campaigns some time to learn. And, you know, depending on your budget, when you say return on investment, I mean, if you get one enrolled family from spending $1,500 on ads, what is your return on investment there? You know, if that's a $10,000 tuition, that's a pretty good return on investment. So it really just depends on a lot of different factors. But again, like we like to say that to give it any campaign, to give it at least 3 months to show a return on your investment.
Camille, the thing I haven't quite figured out is, for example, let's say if there were basically, let's say, I mean, so many conversions, let's say X number of conversions. Well, okay, but out of those conversions, how many actually did enroll? If you could tie the two, and how many of them are because of ad, and how many of them are because of a generic search, right? I mean, some of them may have come for other reasons, not necessarily because of ad. So ideally, if there was a way for us to go ahead and say, okay, we placed an ad and there were so many conversions in the ad, and out of that ad, maybe 3 enrollment took place, it makes it very easy for me and do what I think the question was brought up in terms of what is my cost benefit analysis, right?
Mhm.
I'm not sure if there's a way to do that. Maybe there is.
Well, and we're getting kind of into the weeds here a little bit, but in our CRM, if they're coming in and they're converting, so meaning they're clicking on, say, schedule a tour, that a conversion is just an action somebody takes on the website. And then that creates a contact in our CRM. And then if you click on that contact, you can see that there'll be a little tag there on that contact that says this person came in through this ad. And then as they go through your admissions process, then you can determine if they actually end up enrolling, what the final journey, destination was for that particular parent. So we can tell you what generally we report. We provide a report that says, you had this, you spent this on your ads, and you had this many conversions of this type. So this many people downloaded tuition, this many people schedule a tour, whatever. But we don't have, and then by looking in the CRM, we can see who actually came in through the ad and scheduled the tour. But it is a little bit of a manual process to get to the numbers. In other words, 5 people scheduled a tour, which we can see in Google, like through just the analytics and that, and then to go to the CRM and figure out, and then you have to see like who those 5 people were, and then did they actually end up enrolling?
In CRM, there is a way for me to tell, okay, let's say there were 8 conversions on the website, 5 were from ad, and 3 from generic, because of generic search, generic SEO, not ad related. Non-ad. So is it possible in CRM to be able to distinguish these two?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. When you look and you can see, we should hop on a call sometime, Wally, and I can show you how you can
Sure.
figure it out.
Right, thanks.
All right, I'll do a really brief summary here about Google Ad campaign creations. So first and foremost, for your school, it's probably going to be the most important element of your Google Ads campaign is your geographic targeting. You don't necessarily want to target parents who live too far away to come to your school. They're not really your target audience. A tip that we'd like to recommend is for schools to understand their commute path. So, kind of see what areas could be coming into your school, where parents would be willing to come, how far they'd be willing to drive, et cetera, and kind of target a specific geographic area. Things like keyword sculpting, negative keywords, these are all important elements of creating a Google Ads strategy. Ad copy creation, again, your ads really need to have good copy. Keywords tie into this, but just kind of do a little bit of research on good copywriting, see what other ads are out there. Split testing ads as well will work, especially if you're starting out, so you can see which ones perform better, which ones are effective. That way you know where to pour your money in future campaigns. This is going to be a slow and steady wins the race process. It's not an overnight success process with Google Ads, because as Camille mentioned, Google Ads needs to learn and understand what you're doing, and also that it's what you're doing is effective, essentially. So it will take time. The longer you run ads, the better they will operate. What we do want to mention as well is a lot of schools ask, oh, well, right now we're not really focused on growing. We have a wait list. We're not really focused on getting new prospective families. So we're going to pull the plug on Google Ads and we're going to pause them for 6 months, and then we'll pick up again if we have more spots. That's what we advise not doing, because then you're starting from square one again after those 6 months are up, and then it has to relearn all that data. Plus, it's always good to build your list of prospective families. If anything, make a tweak to your ad budget, not too much, but you don't want to just pull the plug and pause throughout the year, because that can have negative impacts later on. We've answered some of these already, but some Google Ad frequently asked questions. How much do I need to spend? As Camille said, depending on your area, minimum $500 nowadays for Google Ads. How long does it take? it's a slow process. We would like to say a few months. There's no magic number. It all depends on how things are monitored and tracked. If I can't afford an ads manager, what do I do? If you really don't have the time to invest in Google Ads or look into them and constantly monitor them, focus on other areas of your marketing first. Focus on creating a great website. Focus on creating a presence in your community. Focus on the other elements first, on great content. And then if you reach a position where you do have enough time to manage your ads, you can't afford a good campaign, then revisit the Google Ads idea. We do strongly believe that Google Ads is a huge factor in enrollment growth. So if you can do it, definitely recommend doing it.
Kind of along those same, I was just gonna say along those same lines, if your website isn't really up to snuff, it doesn't make sense to run ads, because you're just going to be driving people to a website that is going to turn them off. So like you say, like Camilla said, there's sort of an order to these things. You want to build the infrastructure of your online presence before you start paying to drive people to it.
100%. You don't want to bring them to an outdated website. It just doesn't make sense to do that. Definitely start from number one and move your way down. Have the great website, have that great content, great photos, informative information on your website, and then focus on Google Ads. Because when you have all of these three things working together, it works so much more seamlessly and it's more effective. Here we have our Google Ads resources. Of course, Nido Marketing, schedule a call with us. We will talk you through. We do have Google Ads services as well. So we have, we do monitor Google Ads for several schools. We're backed by Solutions 8, which is the leading Google Ads agency in the world. So we have some great experts on our team when it comes to Google Ads. It's an ever-changing beast. Like Google Ads it's always transforming and getting better, and people have to relearn how to use it. And it really is a whole thing to take on if you're going to be monitoring Google Ads. So if you want to talk to an expert, you can talk to us. We also have a few courses and resources. We have our Montessori marketing method, Google Ads. We talk about how to rank first, that SEO information. Maybe we'll do a town hall on that in the future and kind of expand on that. But yeah, we have plenty of resources here. We also have an interesting case study here, which is a school, 18 months of Google ad management. So what it could look like over those 18 months. If anyone's interested in seeing that, if they want to see the numbers, if they want to see how it's worked for other schools, I recommend, this is one of our old blogs and case studies. You can check that out on our Nido Marketing website. It's free to go and see. What about Facebook ads? I'll talk briefly about Facebook ads as well, because I know a lot of schools are interested in running social ads. They can be an effective way to target families as well. They're a little bit more budget friendly than Google ads. They're not necessarily as effective, but they can still bring good quality leads. So it's definitely an area that you can consider. You're going to be addressing people who are a little bit higher in the sales funnel here. This is going to be like their first impression. This is going to be where they're going to be directed to your website. So this is the top of your admissions funnel here that you're reaching through Facebook ads. It's more focused on brand awareness. So it's just about, inviting them to look at your website, inviting them to learn about your programs, inviting them for a tour. So you're starting at the very top of that admissions funnel. You're using similar targeting tools as you would with Google Ads. You're looking at demographics as well, geographical location, age, etc. All of these things are factors. It also requires monitoring for ROI. So just like with Google Ads, you're going to have a Facebook ad manager where you're going to look at how your ads are performing, how much money you're spending, if people are clicking on these ads, if they're, resulting in conversions, etc. You definitely want to keep an eye on these things. It does take time. Always, when you're using Facebook ads, you're going to be constructing your ad copy, use a call to action, and direct people to your website. This should be the goal of all of your Facebook ads, all of your ads in general, but all of your Facebook ads really need to have a clear call to action and one that is inviting. And it's more than just post boosting. I know that your school probably has a business Facebook profile. every time that you click post on a business profile, it asks you if you want to boost this post because it's going to reach more people. Facebook ads is more than just that. While that could be effective, you really want to focus on constructing good ad copy and running campaigns rather than just boosting a post. So it goes a little bit deeper than that, unfortunately. We wish it could be that easy, but in reality, it's much more complex. Also, Facebook security rules are always changing. So be aware that this is also an ever-changing beast. You will have to kind of readjust your ads. The information that people hand over to Facebook is changing more and more. So stay up to date as to what's happening with Facebook as well. We have loads of Facebook ad resources as well. We have courses for you. We've got some great blogs on running Facebook ads. So I recommend taking a look at these as well. We have a course on how to create a Facebook business page if you don't have one already for your school. We also recommend taking a look at our overall Montessori marketing method course, which talks about Facebook and social ads. All of these are great tools if you're just getting started. Highly recommend taking a look at that. Any questions? It's already 6 minutes over, so I think maybe we'll pick up on the rest of this next week, Camille. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Because it's a lot to cover in 1 hour. I don't want to keep people. I know you must all have a busy day. But if you have any questions for, I guess, the 1, 2, and 3 of the marketing, ways to grow your enrollment. See here in the chat. Have to run. Thanks. Thank you, Jill. And thanks for your input in the meeting today. Really appreciate it. Here, Tina, super helpful. Thank you for the part 2 next week. Yeah, we'll do a part 2. That way we don't rush over the last 2 points because they're also important if you want to grow your enrollment. Also, I believe the last 2 points are a little bit more budget friendly than running Google Ads. We know that's kind of expensive for some schools. All right, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so we'll pick up next week and talk about the other 2 ways to grow your enrollment. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about SEO as well, depending on how we are for time next week. Yeah, we've still got plenty to cover, so we'll see you next week. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. I'll stay on here for for another minute just to see if there's any more questions. You can also contact me directly. I'm our community manager here, and I organize these town halls. It'll be the link that you use to register for this town hall. If you go on that page again later today, I'll update it to reflect the new meeting so you can see the part 2 of this series. I also, really quickly, I'm going to drop the link to schedule a free consultation call for those of you who want to hop on a call and talk about
Your school specifically. Yeah.
Because that might, we can answer your questions one-on-one and in a more constructive way rather than on the call. Yeah. All right, so we'll see you next week, I guess, for part 2 of the 5 ways to grow your enrollment. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you found this helpful and have a great rest of your week. And thank you, Camille.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.